Hi, this is Madelynn Tahsler, and I will be presenting my research, The Consumption of Power, the Myth of Kronos in the Art of Greece and Goya. In this research, I have analyzed the myth of Kronos swallowing his children, as it represents Grecian power structures, religious foundations, and ancient Greek ideals. Throughout history, many artists have used this myth to draw attention or make modern political statements by shifting emphasis and altering the traditional myth in different ways. The example I will focus on is Goya's Saturn devouring his son, a vivid and chaotic depiction of the classic myth. With these examples showing how the meaning of this myth changes over time, the viewer is able to further understand the importance of emphasis and artistic choices within the depiction of a myth. Hesiod's Theogony provides the earliest written description of this myth, and many others, as it testifies the rise of the gods. In this myth, Kronos, the king amongst the Titans, is told that he will be overpowered by his own child. In order to prevent this from happening, as Rhea gives birth to his children, he swallows them whole. Unbeknownst to him, he swallows a stone instead of his final child, Zeus, who then overpowers Kronos and frees the gods from his stomach, thus starting the Titanomachy, or the rise of the gods over the Titans. This myth helps create a repetition of narrative as the common theme of a father trying to prevent his children from overpowering him in accordance with fate. This type of extreme measure to maintain current power has been seen throughout Greek myth. Kronos himself overpowered his own father, Uranus. This myth and its value in Grecian society becomes clear as it is understood that the rise of the gods is dependent on Kronos swallowing a stone in the place of Zeus. This is seen in ancient religious ceremony to celebrate the rise of the gods, as the people of Delphi poured oil on the stone which they believed was given to Kronos instead of the child Zeus. This holds the stone itself as a part of their sacred religion. This myth held the most value to the Greeks as a source of power of religious foundation that ensures the rise of the gods and divine power structure that solidifies Zeus as the king of the gods. With this emphasis on the importance of the rise of the gods, the most commonly depicted parts of this myth and art will show Kronos swallowing a rock in the place of Zeus, or the following Titanomachy. This 450 BCE red figure form is currently on collection at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. This form is identified as a palecki, similar to an amphora with a broad belly made for serving liquid, perhaps even oil in religious ceremonies as described in Delphi. The artist known as Nausicaa, from the regional province of Rhodes, is attributed with the creation of this piece. Within the myth of the Titanomachy and the rise of the gods, the scene of Kronos swallowing his children is not a common visual theme, as it is only found on two red figure vases. This particular image depicts the specific part of the myth in which Kronos has already swallowed his 5 other children: Hades, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. In this moment, Rhea switches the infant Zeus with a stone wrapped in swaddling for Kronos to swallow. Within this image, we see Kronos standing to the right, scepter in hand, awaiting Rhea to the left. This myth can be identified in pieces as the iconography remains extremely similar across time and location. Kronos will nearly always be shown holding a scepter, scythe, or an hourglass as his iconographical symbols. Each of these symbols further emphasize his power as ruler of the Titans. The same symbol of a scepter can often be found in works depicting Zeus as king of the gods. Here we see Kronos on the left and Zeus on the right, holding the same scepter. This type of duality emphasizes the familial line and the shift of power as the son overpowers his father. Rhea, although she often lacks any clear symbols, can be identified by context and the swaddled stone she carries. Although Zeus is not depicted in the ancient images, he remains the subject of the myth, as his absence opens up the opportunity for him to overthrow Kronos as he is tricked into swallowing the stone. The visual depictions of this myth in ancient works remain quite stagnant, as the emphasis lies within the trickery of feeding Kronos' stone and the ceremonial presentation of the swaddled stone, rather than the act of Kronos eating his other children. With modern depictions of this myth, the feeling of stillness is often abandoned as the point of emphasis shifts. Spanish artist Francisco Goya painted Saturn devouring his son, shown on the left, in 1820 to 1824, as a part of his black paintings. These black paintings consisted of dark and gruesome works that decorated the artist's home in the end of his life. This work shows romantic ideals as it emphasizes drama portrayed in a classical subject. As many works made up the Spanish royal collection during Goya's time as the royal portrait artist, One of the most identifiable artistic influences for this work was Rubens' Saturn, shown on the right. This piece more clearly shows the iconography of Kronos as he holds a scythe and an infant child in his hand. Unlike the Greek representations, however, Rubens shows the child's flesh being torn away as Kronos bites into the child. This painting shows the extremity of emotion and pain as the infant cries out, serving as an inspiration for Goya's black painting. Kronos is shown tearing the arm off of his already decapitated child. Without the clear scream shown in Rubens' work, Goya's piece is left with an eerie sense of silence as Kronos devours his child. Goya's work loosely follows the literary tradition of the myth and subject matter. However, in this depiction, Goya decided to focus on the mutilation and ingestion of the gods that were eaten before the stone. Where this work deviates the most from artistic tradition is in the madness and gore of the piece itself. In classical depictions of the myth, the Titan Kronos is shown waiting patiently to swallow the stone he believes to be Zeus. This painting instead shows Kronos tearing his child apart. This change in subject shifts the meaning, as the focus no longer lies on the rise of the gods. It now leads the viewer to an image focused on the monstrous act that Kronos committed as he ate his own children to maintain his power. Author Robert Hughes draws attention to the theme of power shown in Goya's work as he states, "In what sort of society would the fathers eat the young? Surely one in which the old perceive the new as a deadly threat. A society so reactionary that tradition, imagined as the absolute reign of total authority, is worth murdering for." This purposeful shift changes the statement that this painting makes to its modern viewers. Using a well-known Greek myth, Goya was able to alter the emphasis to focus the viewer's attention on the corruption of those who were seen as power-hungry. Hughes further analyzes the historical influences that may have affected this work and came to the conclusion that Goya's Saturn may be meant to direct our gaze back to the values of Fernando VII and his loyalists, and an incarnation of a revolution that ended by eating its own children. With this analysis, it can be understood that each choice Goya made in this piece helped further his statement and the viewer's understanding of the work itself in comparison to the ancient images. Goya's depiction of this myth completely shifts the meaning from one of power structures to one of absolute monstrosity and chaos. While the ancient depictions focus entirely on the power structure of the gods and creating a place for the Titanomachy to begin, modern depictions chose to focus on the barbaric actions of Kronos to keep his power as king of the old gods and titans. As the different aspects of this myth are separated and emphasized vividly, it is understood that both the ancient and modern depictions of this myth have drastically different implications and meanings based on the visual emphasis and focus of the piece. Thank you for your time.